Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another edition of the YZ250F build. First thing off the top of the video, I'd like to mention this number right here, 379 subscribers. Thank you all very much for subscribing. You are all awesome. So if you're new to the channel and you want to see this bike finished here, make sure you subscribe, hit the notifications bell, like this video if you like it, and let's get going on the plastics. So what I'll do now is I'll start putting the rad shrouds on. I did a little bit of work to the tank. I just went ahead and put the tank and the exhaust on just to mock it up. I'm still waiting for packing, so that's going to be a little while, but I should be able to do a little bit of plastic work, and the seat also has to be taken care of as well. Kind of had a bit of a hiccup on that one. That was the last straw for this little piece on the rad. So I was trying to kind of maneuver it into a position where I could get this bolt here through this, through the shroud, and then through this, and then into the louver there. So just that was the last bit of fatigue the metal would take, and it just broke off. So I'm gonna have to figure out a little spacer or something like that in there. And same goes over here. This one's missing as well. So must be probably a weak point, I'd say, if the bike gets dropped or dumped or anything like that. This is probably the first point of impact, I would say. So those I would guess break off pretty frequently on these bikes. Alright, I got that shroud on, and then I got the back fender on. This kit's going on really easy, so that's really nice. I always like working with Polysport. They do a really good job of getting all the hole position right usually, so this is going on real easy. So now I'll just go ahead and put on the side covers. All right, so I got this thing looking just awesome now. I think this bike is gonna turn out super amazing for what it was when I bought it, that's for sure. So what I think I have to do now is go ahead and redo that seat cover. So I got the seat here and the new seat cover. I got the TAC Graphics seat cover. I went on price point on this one. It's just like a normal, just a black seat cover. So, but I think it's gonna go really well with the scheme of things on the bike. Well, I got the first seat cover off. I didn't realize it, but there's actually two seat covers. I wouldn't do this. I always take off the old seat cover and then put the new one on. So I'm not going to bother time-lapsing this or anything like that. I'm just going to go ahead and pop it off, and then I'll start filming when I put the new seat cover back on. So I got both the seat covers off here. So now I'm ready to put this new TAC Graphics seat cover on. So when I start these seats, I usually start at the front and then staple it in a little bit, and then go to the back and try and get the seams lined up just perfectly down here. And then after that, you should be able to just pull it tight and then staple it in underneath there. So as you can see, I had to stop time lapse there because I had to actually go get a pneumatic staple gun because my other stapler won't fit in the grooves here, so it was impossible for me to put the seat cover on. So now I'm going to try this little Aero pneumatic staple gun and see how that works. All right, so there it is. I got the seat done. This is probably the hardest material I had to work with. It comes kind of crinkled right out of the box. There's some definite imperfections, but I mean, I went on price point on this one. Like these two little notches here, I'm not sure what that's from. This here, maybe they'll settle themselves out, but other than that, the seat looks really good. So next up, I'm going to put the chain on and adjust the slack. I've got this primary drive chain. These chains come pretty specific for the bike, so you usually don't have to use a chain breaker. I hope I don't have to because I don't have one, so I'll try and thread that on right now. So now we're going to go ahead and adjust the chain slack on this bike. So Yamaha wants it measured right here at this around this back of the chain slider here, and you got to pull the tension into it, and from here to the bottom of the chain has got to be anywhere from 50 to 60 millimeters, and for my American friends that is 2 to 2 3/8 of an inch. So right now, obviously, it's going to be like way too much. As you can see, it's pretty much 2.5 inches there. And if I really pull it, 2 3/4. So I definitely have to adjust this. So obviously, you're going to adjust it with the slack adjusters here. But what I like to do first is just tighten up the axle nut, just so there's a little bit of resistance so this thing isn't sliding around on you. So I've got the axle nut on the other side snugged in a little bit, so when I'm tensioning the chain, this isn't going to want to move on me. So because you got to have it set, of course, at a certain slack there. So I'm going to start setting the chain slack, and then when I'm done, I like to put something thin like a rag or something and put it into the chain and drag it around so it tightens everything in up against the slack adjusters, and that just makes sure that your axle blocks are not going to move around while you're doing your torque. So I'll go more into that when I'm done adjusting the chain. So I've got it within spec here, guys, so it doesn't take much input down here on the adjusters to get the adjustment here. So I got it about 55 millimeters or 2 1/8 inches. So now what I'm going to do is put the napkin or the paper towel inside of here and just make sure it squeezes the axle blocks up against the back of the adjusters just to keep everything tight. And before you do that, even make sure the axle blocks are the same distance from the front of the axle block to this little swing frame pocket. Just if you have calipers, like digital calipers, it's the best, but a measuring tape will work to get it roughly, because you want this thing running tracking true. Alright guys, so I got everything torqued in there now. The reason why sometimes I don't really explain 100% clearly of why I do things, I'll just go over this quickly again, is I put this in to the chain here so that it takes up some gap, some chain slack, and pushes this whole assembly, including the axle and the axle blocks, towards these little adjuster bolts here, so that when you torque down that nut, nothing moves here, because after you're done torquing everything, you want to make sure you're at the same as you were before you torqued it. So now I'm still at 55 millimeters there. So everything worked out good. That's exactly where I want it to be. Put that in behind there. Something thin. Don't put a big towel or a rag or something huge in there. Just like fold a paper towel in half. Put it in there. That'll take up enough slack out of the chain where it'll push everything forward for you. Keep everything nice and sturdy. And like I said, tightening that axle nut just a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. So you might have to just tap it with a hammer to keep it, to get it to move. But you just want everything still while you're doing the torquing procedure. So next I'll move on to the pegs here. I'm going to put these new pegs on. I really wasn't expecting these this soon, but they came in pretty early. I like these pegs. The only problem I have with them, I have them on the CR250, is sometimes they can get a little bit sticky with the cleats on your boots. You gotta think about repositioning your feet a little bit because they get a little bit hung up. But other than that, they're really good pegs and they got really nice look to them. So I'm gonna put those on the bike. But since I got wait time in between parts orders, or my last order there, I think I'm gonna powder coat these black. So I'm gonna pull these off and start sandblasting those. Alright, we got the pegs and the peg mounts out. This one had me really worried. That last bolt here, one of these ones didn't really want to go. So I had to hit it with a bit of heat around here and see if I could get the threads loosened up a bit. But it's out, so that's good. So now I can just clean up the pins, clean these up. These have little markings on them if you ever take them out. So you'll have, see if I can get it to focus there. You see the R on it, so that means right. So there's no confusion as to how it goes when it goes back on. Other than that, I'm just gonna go ahead and powder coat these. I think you guys have seen me powder coat enough stuff. So I'm just gonna put these in the sandblaster, powder coat them black, and then come back and put these back on the bike. All right, so I got these peg holders all powder coated now, so I'll go ahead and start throwing these pegs back on the bike. Alright, so these pegs are looking sick on there. Look awesome with that powder coated black with the blue peg there. So that's going to look awesome on the bike. So now I can move on to the front here. And the procedure I do to torque all this up is snug this nut here in a little bit. And then I'll drop the bike on the ground and put the front brake on and work the forks up and down just to get the bushing in there nice and settled. And then I'll leave a little bit of weight on the bike when I lift the jack back up. And then what I'll do is I'll torque this nut in and then the pinch bolts after. And the reason you do this, guys, is to get everything settled into the onto the bike how it's gonna normally ride. Because if you just tighten it down and one of the bushings is like cocked funny because it's hanging there because it's got no weight on the bike, it might start grinding inside the fork tube there, so that won't be good. So that's why I do that, so everything settles in nice and then it torques in and then it runs nice and easy. So I got these all torqued in, these pinch bolts for the triple clamps. I've mentioned this before, but it's always good to keep tightening back and forth until you reach your final torque value, because if you just tighten this once and this one's going to be loose again. So you just got to keep going until they both click to the final torque value. So I did get an order of parts in. So I got this silencer packing here, this Lex silencer packing. So I'm going to get that done. Also, I got this O-ring kit for the oil filter housing. I thought the Wrench Rabbit kit might come with all these. It's really weird. It comes with these, but it doesn't come with these little small ones. So I had to order a couple kits. So I'll put those in right now. I've got the pipe on the bench here now, or part of it, and all you do with this packing is it's pretty easy. You just have to wrap it. I'll put it out on the bench here, and I'll put the pipe on it, and I'll just wrap it. And then if there's any excess here, I'll just cut it off, and then I'll just put a little bit of this tape around it, and then try and shove it back in. So I can check this silencer off the list now. It's all repacked and ready for some flow. So I got the exhaust on here, guys. So now I'm ready to put this oil filter in here. I got the cap off, as you can see. So these filters only go in one way. You'll have this little piece sticking out here, and obviously it can't go in like that. So it's got to be able to go in like this, and then you push it in like that. But first of all, you got to put these 3 little O-rings, is what I was actually waiting for to be able to start this engine. So I'll put this filter in, and there's another O-ring that goes right here. It's not a bad idea to put some grease in here and some grease in there, just so the O-rings stick in there. And then you can go ahead and put your filter in. And all right, guys, now that I got the element in on the other side, now I can take this cap off here. And the service manual says when you're replacing the element, you put 1.15 liters in. But because the whole engine's completely dry, it has no oil in it, I might have to put a little bit more in, but I'll just put just a little over a liter in here for now. And you can always check, because there's a sight glass right there to see where the level is. So I got it full of fluids here now. I got the coolant full and I got the oil full. So it's a little bit late to start it, so I'll probably fill it up with some gas tomorrow and kick it over and see if she wants to go. All right, so I got some fuel in this thing now. I didn't fill it right up just in case. You never know, the O-ring might fail or something like that. But now we'll just go ahead and turn the valve on. See the fuel going in there. So now we'll see if she'll start. Alright guys, so I'm so stoked about the way that thing is running right now. Yesterday, as you could see, it wasn't running very well. I knew as soon as it would only run on choke, I knew I had to check the pilot circuit. So I took the pilot jet out, made sure it was clean. It's a brand new jet, so I figured that wasn't the problem. But it was actually the canals for the where the pilot circuit is. Those were really plugged, and as well, they were plugged up on the air fuel mixture circuit. So I had to clean all that out, and did that today. Pulled the carb off again, stuck bristles in there from a wire brush and tried to get it out, put some seafoam through it. I got a little bit of seafoam in the gas there, so that's sitting there hopefully loosening everything up. I knew I half expected to have problems with the carbs just because of the shape of it when I pulled it off. So I wasn't overly surprised about it, but I'm really happy to have that thing running the way it is right now. So now I just got to wait on the decals for the rad shrouds, and then this bike will be good to go. So one thing I'm going over here, guys, is you always check for oil leaks, and as you can see, I have definitely an oil leak there. I tried tightening the clamps on either side of this oil hose here, and it's still leaking. The leak persists, so I'm thinking that this this guard here is the culprit for that. So you can see right here, you can see the evidence of the underneath of this hose has been rubbing on it. So when this was put on, they didn't put any kind of extra armor in here or anything like that. So it was rubbing on that for a long time. So I think this hose is rubbed through and now it's leaking oil. So unfortunately I have to order another one, but it's better that I know that now and I'm able to fix it before something goes wrong with the engine. All right, so I got this hose all fixed up now. So it's a bit tougher of a hose. I went with like a more durable hose on it. So hopefully it won't rub through so quickly. So now that that's done, I can move on to do the graphics now because those came in. So I just went really simple on this build for graphics just because I am selling the bike after. So I want to leave an opportunity for the next buyer to maybe do their own graphics kit. But this will add a little bit of flair to the look of the bike. I'm just doing the rad shrouds. I went with just like a factory look. I looked up like a 2006 to 2009. It says these are kind of the graphics that were put on the bike for those years. So I ordered it straight from Factory Effects. So it showed up pretty quickly. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put these on the bike. But first I have to take off the seat, because when I put them on, this is going to go up on top of the tank, in between the seat and the tank. So I got to take that seat off first. So I got the seat on the bench here. So what I'll do with these is I'm going to cut a little strip out of here so that I can kind of position it onto the, I got the wrong one here. So I can kind of position it onto the tank here and just kind of mock it in there and just figure out how it's going to go. So I'll probably cut a slot in it about here. And then if I don't like what I see, it's easy to just peel it off and back out of it. And then when you get it where you want, then you just pull that out, take the backing off, and then pull the front off, take the backing off. So it's easier just to position it right where you want it. So that's what I've done there. So now I'll just position it until I like what I see, and then take the backing off, and then stick it on with the heat gun there. Alright guys, that is going to be the end of this video and the end of this build series. I have the bike out in the shed now because I had to move it out to get some shots outside. It's a nice day, so I got some photos and some video of the bike outside completed. So I'll definitely show you that after. If you followed this build from the beginning, you know how rough shape that bike was in when I got it. It wouldn't start. The suspension was just basically riding on a spring. There wasn't much left of the bike. I wasn't sure if it was going to be parted out or not, but I managed to save the bike, so I'm super stoked on that. And if you want to see more builds like this, make sure you just hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. And as always, thanks a lot for watching.